Ohai. Agios Nikolaos, the city in Greece, the administrative center of the community of the same name. Lima. And peripheral unit Lycian in the periphery Crete. Is on the northern coast of Crete, on west side of the Gulf Mirabellin, in 63 came to the east of the capital of the island of Heraklion, to the north from the city of Iropetra. 36 came. And to the west of the city of Scythia. 73 came. The name of the city happens from the Byzantine church located in the Gulf Agios Nikolaousa. The most ancient known name Mandraki. Other known name which are used by residents of neighboring villages, Yalos. The population according to a census of 2001 is made by 11421 inhabitants. The modern city is founded on the place of port of the ancient city of Doriets, Lotto located in 3.5 km to the north from the settlement of Kritsa. These two cities made one administrative unit in the 3rd century BB. They read the same deity, Elephia, the patroness of women in labor, and also had one coin on which one party Elephia, and on another Hermes with words was represented. The port of the city of Lotto, developed in this period as the large settlement and the economic center, while the city of Lotto began to fade. Near the river statues, inscriptions and graves dated by this period were found. Burials from graves, many of which are of great interest, are exposed in the local archaeological museum. At the beginning of the 13th century, presumably in 1206, on the hill fortress, presumably was constructed by Genus Enrico Pescatore. Fortress was called Mirabellin and named the province and the Gulf. Fortress was destroyed by an earthquake of 1303, however Venetians built up it again. In 1374 it is mentioned as Castro Mirabelli, in whom warehouses for storage of salt from sultans of Alunda who was exported to other Europe further were located. Fortress was thrown and turned into a warehouse after the revolt against Venetians. Fortress was destroyed by the Turkish pirates in 1537, but built again upon Michel Sanmicheli's project. Around Fortress the settlement developed. Of Castrophilakis the settlement is mentioned in a census of Petros as Mirabello Proprio with the population 753 inhabitants, mainly fishermen. Since 1630 it is mentioned as Mirabello's fortress, and the settlement in Greek receives the name Vlismeni, from the name of the lake Vlismeni. In 1646, during the Turkish and Venetian War, the chief of garrison of Fortress Colonello Baldella gives fortress to Turks who surrounded him. It was considered for treachery and Baldella was hung up. Venetians beat off a fort, but because couldn't hold it in the hands, it was destroyed by them after the fortress of Spinalongi, which satisfied their needs for protection, was built up. In 1671 it is mentioned in the Turkish census as Nefs Maranblo. In the Egyptian census of 1834 it isn't mentioned as the settlement was left by inhabitants. However, the port functioned for export of a local product, a carob tree. In 1845 Victor Rollin mentions that there were 4 destroyed churches which were used as a warehouse for a carob tree. The modern settlement is created during finding of independence of Crete in 1866 by settlers from Kritsa and Sfakia. Ruins of fortress were used as construction materials for new buildings. The first time is mentioned in 1881 when 87 Christians and 8 Turks lived in the settlement. Since ancient times being called Mandraki, nevertheless the settlement takes the name Agios Nikolaos, from small Byzantine churchlet of the 9th century which is located on the peninsula of Amudi, approximately in 2 kilometers to the north from the city. In 1900 Agios Nikolaos becomes the center of community Kritsa, and in 1904 in Agios Nikolaos from Neapolis the center of Gnome is transferred. In 1928 1124 inhabitants lived in Agios Nikolaos, and since then continuous growth of the population is observed. In 1940, 2481 inhabitants, in 1951, 3167 inhabitants, in 1961, 3709 inhabitants, in 1971, 5002 inhabitants, in 1981, 8130 inhabitants. In the same time the city becomes the large tourist center. The economy of the region is based on tourism, cultivation of olive trees and distant pasture livestock production. The lake Vulis many. In use of inhabitants of Agios Nikolaos simply lake is a small lagoon in the downtown. A set of ancient myths mention this lake, the oldest of which say that Athena and Artemis swam in this lake. 2 city legends are also connected with the lake. The first says that the lake has no bottom, and the second that the lake is connected to a volcano on the island of the shooting gallery. The last myth is based that during the last eruption on the shooting gallery of water of the lake began to seed and flooded buildings on its coast. At the bottom of the lake there is military equipment left by the German soldiers before their leaving from the island after World War II. The communal community Agios Nikolaos includes 7 settlements and 2 islands. The population of 12638 inhabitants on a census of 2011. Area 19. 204 square kilometers. Sites. The park with pines and a tamarisk over the lake with a panoramic view of the city. In this park the stone track which passes between trees and terminates on north side of the lake where a set of boats, generally fishing or moored, begins. Spinalonga, the island to the north from the city which was left by its last inhabitants, the people sick with a leprosy. Many buildings and houses remained as archaeological sites. Here tourist bureaus which transport tourists from Alunda on the island are organized. Marina Agios Nikolaos, where there take place numerous sailing races. Horn of Plenty. The sculpture constructed by local sculptors, Brothers Sotiriadis. Nark Square. Decorated with a mosaic with sea motifs. In the city a large number of ladders is located. The city is built on hills and ladders are its characteristic feature. Many of them were developed by the famous local architects. Tetraplatia. Citrusovea Square. The square with the small beach on which the stone path which passes along the coastline and comes to an end around Marina Agios Nikolaos begins. The name of this area was given by the trade in a citrus developed in last centuries. A citrus. Because of a deep water of the sea on this beach, even before emergence here of port, the merchant ships exporting a citrus were moored here. Homios Haralambus. On in the church of the same name near which the pine grove grows is located. From the hill the beautiful panoramic view of the city and the Gulf opens. Island of Aipans and Micronesian. These islands are located in only several meters from each other, however flora and fauna of these islands isn't similar at all. Archaeological Museum. Ethnographic Museum. The church on the central square of Eleftherios Venizelos, painted in 1980 in traditional Byzantine style. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.